Hello, welcome to Gainsborough Studio here in Felixstowe. The story of the 53 flood in which this town lost 41 people directly and a further 2 indirectly continues to grow, and many people's memories are stirred. And today we have 2 special guests occupying the settee, and they will introduce themselves if they would. This is young John Mims.
Yes. I'm a Felixstowe lad, born in 1930.
Excellent. So you're a youngster, really?
Really, yes.
1930.
I'm just
And I'm
just a young boy.
I'm Ray Versey. I was born in Walton,
Right.
1929.
So you're a year older than you're the senior.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so can we start off with John? Your memories of that day is actually commencing on the Saturday.
Yes.
And
Well,
can you relate sort of what was happening? I understand you were courting,
yes.
committed courter.
Yes, I was. It would either be the pictures or dancing at the pier. And
Right,
on that particular night, it was pictures and not the pier pavilion.
right. But the pier pavilion was running.
They
wasn't
were
it? So
running,
both
yes,
were.
yes, oh, yes,
So,
they were dancing
all,
there.
all the courting folks were out.
Oh,
busy,
yes,
busy.
and of course there was a late train ran from Felixstowe back to Ipswich. It used to take people from the dance back to Ipswich.
So this was the beach
The-
station and railway.
Oh no, this
No,
is town station.
Oh, it was a town station.
Yes.
Ah, so they all trooped up through the town.
Yes. They would all do
only
that.
about ankle deep. They
Yeah,
didn't-
they didn't
No.
get very wet.
No.
But I left, well, while the cinema, we were in it,
Right.
the old Ritz as it was called, I would have thought the roof would come off. I've never heard the wind hit anything quite the same way.
So this was the hurricane that was
Yeah,
preceded
well,
or was
the
running
wind
with.
force, yes, it was never classed as a hurricane. But
Now, can you confirm something that's been said in various publications? There was an announcement made in the cinema that the Baldsey ferry wasn't running, and any servicemen of Baldsey were to report down to RAF Felixstowe.
it
What
probably
was,
was, but I had already left before the end.
had you?
Yes.
You didn't get your money. You shouldn't.
Oh, I got my money's worth. But I was I got to get my girlfriend home.
Well, that's a
10:30.
priority.
And
You get
I must
slapped.
admit, I often forgot what the titles of
You
the,
get
of the
slapped
films
if you
were.
didn't get them in.
yes,
before.
by George, you did. And,
Oh, she was on curfew.
Oh, yeah, they were in those days.
Yes.
There was none of this bedding down quietly with different people.
No, it was a whole different.
Well, different ball game.
It was.
Yeah.
And we went to the Alex to have a quick meal, which we did.
The Alex being on the front.
Yes, I think.
Really?
Yes.
Right.
No water, no indication of anything there.
So what sort of time was that? 10ish, half an
Well,
hour?
this would be about 10 o'clock time.
Right.
Because we came out and I was walking her down, and as I got to where the Marlborough Hotel is on the prom,
Yes.
the gentleman there was trying to secure his motorboat. So I said to my young lady, you go home where she lived, and I'll stay and help our friend out, which I did.
Right.
And I suppose I eventually got to her house about 11:30, between 11:30, quarter to 12. And there was
Quite
no,
late then, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was no water in evidence at all, apart from odd dribbles coming on the path
Right.
on Sea Road, which is nothing to be amazed about because
No.
it would happen as it came through the
So
slot.
there was some overtopping.
There's some over, but it was nothing serious
Really.
to me.
Right.
I picked my bike up and went to go down Station Road now from where Prettyman Road is, of Station Road,
Right.
as it was called then, down to Langer Road is downhill.
So that's where the traffic lights are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I started to go downhill, I thought, hang on a minute, the water's coming up this hill.
Really.
So I got off my bike, went back, hammered on the door. My father-in-law eventually appeared.
Your to-be father-in-law. You were still
Yeah,
courting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he
Trainee
assumed,
father-in-law.
he's assumed that I was drunk, I think, because I said, you better get up because you're going to get water in here. Oh, you know.
Really?
Because all the attitude of water to us was it came off the seafront.
Yes.
Ran down the gutters into Langer Road and odd things like that, but never in any depth.
Right. So overtopping was a regular feature then,
Yeah,
with some water getting
well,
into
some
the-
water would come down, but
If the
not
wind was in the
in
right,
directions and the
Right.
tides were right and that. But
So the lowest point where this water would collect would be what, Orford Road
run
and Langer
down,
Road?
yes,
That's the lower
run
point.
down into it if it was any vast quantity.
Right, okay.
So it was a complete mystery, really.
Yeah.
But obviously the water was coming straight across the.
So if you encountered water at Prettyman,
Well, just as I was going.
just
from there,
where the old locksmith was.
yeah,
That's where his
yeah,
shop
the
was,
road
wasn't it?
starts to dip there.
Right.
And
Right.
that-
So you actually had water coming up,
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
was what, 11:45?
12 to 12 o'clockish.
Because that confirms pretty much with what the DEFRA says
Yeah.
in their report.
Yeah.
They seem to say overtopping reached its peak about 11:30ish.
Wow.
You know, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
don't-
what this. We won't be able to see it.
Yeah.
But on this, I'll
Yeah.
give you copies of this later,
Yeah.
and you can actually see what they say.
Yeah.
I mean, you mightn't have known, but I went to an exhibition at Orford, and they did a 4-day exhibition on how it affected them.
yeah.
And there was an awful lot of information there that I've never seen here.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
need to get this to get
Yeah.
a sort of a fuller story.
It was that second surge, I think,
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
it broke
which
the
they
wall.
say
Yeah.
say that happened after 1:30
Yeah.
when the riverbank went.
Yeah.
But they also say there was overtopping on the front along the prom, but then there was overtopping on the back through RAF Felixstowe and the
Oh,
port
yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
it was a 3 sort of stage
But you see,
process.
now
so I
I
don't
wa-
know how it worked.
I worked at the port,
Yeah.
and we only had about 2.5 feet of water across the
Right.
port because the old dock basin sat well up.
Yes, it did.
But the problem there when we went to work on Monday was to move all the cargo out of the warehouses as fast as we could because the bottoms were wet.
Oh, and how?
And by 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
And
Let's get back to, there you are with
Yeah.
your bike,
Like, so,
stymied by prospective father-in-law.
oh yes,
Heading back to Cornwall Road,
Yeah.
but having wheeled your bike into the wet and thinking, I don't like this.
Oh.
So it was rising then, was it?
Yeah.
Or was
Oh,
it?
yeah.
It was actually rising.
It was
actually.
coming up the road. Yeah.
So
No,
did
quite, yeah.
father-in-law take any notice then?
Well,
Perspective.
he did in the end, yes.
Right.
And he was dead lucky because as we started to move, he ran the sweet shop and we started to move the stuff off the floor.
Oh
The
dear.
water only came up to his front doorstep.
Right.
And
Which
just
is
drifted slightly over the front door.
Right.
You know,
because apparently at Manor Terrace it came to their top step.
Oh yeah, yeah,
At some point,
yeah,
because their cellars were flooded.
yeah.
They say.
Yeah.
So there you are.
So they were
Moving suites. Midnight.
midnight. Yeah.
Right.
Then after we'd done that, I said, well, I better go off and see what I can find out.
Right.
So I went up towards the prom
Right.
and I met a policeman there, Sergeant,
Mm.
Gunboat Meadows we call
Yeah.
him.
Who?
Gunboat Meadows.
Gunboat
Love
Meadows.
it.
Yeah, lovely.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah, and I, like a fool, looked at the prom when we went through and said, well, I wonder where that's gone. And of course it was all the shingle over the prom. The prom didn't exist, it was just a
Oh, right.
beach.
The whole bit.
Yeah.
Right. So that was
Yeah,
Sea
whichever-
Road.
Yes, when you got up to the top on the promenade, when you looked either way, it looked as though the prom had disappeared.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is where the Pier Pavilion then was.
Well, it's further up. Yeah.
Further on.
John was talking towards Charlie Manning's.
Yeah. there,
Oh
just
right.
outside.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's where you met the police sergeant.
Yeah, met him there. Yeah.
Did he say what he was doing? Was he getting people out?
Well,
or,
no,
or
no.
just
Well, I think he was as dazed as I was in some respects. You know, shocked.
because this hadn't happened to this degree before ever.
No,
Well,
no,
not in memory.
No,
anyway.
no, you see, because we go back to this
1883.
yeah.
1883
No,
was a big
and there
one.
weren't many people around who would remember, you see.
No.
No, and there weren't the houses, were there?
No, no.
Because you
no.
know, if you look at that,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
look at this of 1904,
Yeah.
what you've got is the creek
Yeah.
where Langer Road
Road was, yeah.
was built over.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising
Yeah.
that the water ran where the creek used to be.
Well, yeah.
You know, I
It-
mean,
it
putting a
did.
road
Yeah,
on a creek
yeah.
doesn't seem too
It
sensible.
it followed its own
My
natural
father
course.
said nature took
Followed
over.
yeah, it
And
followed
it
its
lapped
natural course.
the Ordnance Hotel.
Yeah,
Just lapped it up the hill.
Yeah.
And if you go round to the Dooley Inn, it was round the back of that.
Yeah.
So the two high points,
Yeah.
which
That's where
which
that
historically been there for centuries,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and they knew what they were
Well,
doing.
Well,
Obviously,
the
that
barges
Yeah.
used to tie up at the Dooley because there was a post there
Yeah,
for
there was
years.
more in post, yeah. And my wife to be had a aunt who worked at the Grand, not the Grand, the
Chemist.
Ordnance.
Oh,
the
Ordnance.
Oh right,
When she was a young lass, as a barmaid.
because that flooded the cellar apparently
Yeah.
in the ordnance.
And she can remember the barges
Can she really?
coming up, up the little
Like a
creek.
road.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And on the right tides and lay on the mud.
And then get loaded and then take all the ordnance down to Langard.
Well, whatever.
And,
that would
and
do.
do a
Yeah,
decent
yeah,
job. So here you are, you've got the sweet jars on.
Yeah.
You've been
yeah.
sent
So-
off to find out.
Well,
You've
well,
gone off and volunteered
I've gone
yourself
off,
as
yeah,
a scout.
I've gone
You
off to
found the
find
Shingo has taken over all of the proms. We've
Well,
got a decent
immediately,
beach.
yeah.
Decent beach for a first time.
out. Oh yeah.
Then what happened?
Well, then I went back to see what was going on, and then some people went and got boats out of the Mannings, or they
That
were
one
only-
Were
it
these
was.
but were these the Tunnel of Love boats?
yeah,
The ones
yeah,
that
yeah,
you know
yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah.
There was no proper boat. I mean, there's a proper boat there later in the day.
Yeah, I saw it, but this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
talking to Doris.
That's
She
what-
was rescued by an amusement boat.
Yeah,
As you said, there were two guys in it with shovels,
yeah.
and she said that it wasn't big enough to take all the
Oh,
family. There was
no,
only
it's
her
only
and the two children,
yeah.
and they had to
Basically.
wait later
Mm.
for William to be rescued off the roof. By which time hypothermia had set in, and I think he suffered some gangrene.
No,
Certainly was a long time
no,
recovering from
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
no, yeah. Yeah.
So that was already happening at
Well,
midnight-ish.
Oh no, this is, time was lapping away.
Yeah,
I
of course
mean,
it would,
as you can
yeah.
see.
So what time did you get back to Cornwall Road?
Well,
Or did you?
I did eventually, but when I told my father, he said it was a load of rubbish. I said, all right, I should go back. My own father told me that.
Yeah, but
Because
he's
he-
not alone, is he?
No,
I mean,
he wouldn't believe what I told him.
amazing.
When
Yeah.
I heard that Bangor Road,
Well-
I guess it, oh yeah, well we've had this before.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it wasn't until they came and said,
It must have been a
we
huge
report.
shock.
Well, you see, the town, because like we said about the telephone a little earlier on, they didn't I mean, this young lad had it because his father was in business.
Yes.
But, I worked at the dock. We were Felixstowe 3. Our
Yes.
telephone number.
Yeah.
When I started during the war.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
You see, so I
So-
don't know how many telephone numbers there were to.
Not many.
Not many.
But there was certainly one at the police station because I was going to
Yeah.
get on to radio this. But what I wanted to clarify with you, you'd found this new beach all the way down on the prom, and you got back to Cornwall Road.
Coronation.
What did you do? Go up South Hill
Yes.
and then through Hamilton.
So, so South Hill and up home. No
Right.
problem.
So you didn't get down into Langer Road as such.
Oh, no way.
So was there water up by which is now what the Pavilion Garage? Was there water sort of running through
Well, the water,
Eastcliff, isn't it?
The
That
water
one?
was going down then.
It
You
was.
know, there, because there's a tide recede that would pull
Right.
back.
So the tide had turned. Now the bit that I found fascinating, there was the Essex archivist, the lady, who was commissioned to do a whole study for Essex.
Yeah.
And within this book, and I've got to find it in my collection because I really need to reread it, there is a report that the harbour master at Harwich rang the police station in Felixstowe and said to the desk sergeant, the tide should have turned a half an hour ago and it continues to rise. So the alert, if you like, was given by Harwich Harbour Master Control
Yeah.
to the police station. Now, Ray, coming to you, you were very keen, well, to be a policeman, weren't you? But sadly, things like flat feet and whatever intervened, as it does with many people, doesn't it? I mean, I don't quite know why.
Even national servicemen failed with flat feet.
Yeah.
Well,
no, you just got a different category. You did
I
different
got
things.
grade 2 by being in the Air Force.
Yeah, you should sue the
And
Air
as soon
Force.
as I applied for the police, oh no, you're grade 2.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. We could do with some specials.
For free, because other than the uniform, they're not
But
paying you much.
We won't go into that.
So what we had was you were actually on the list to be considered to become a special.
Yeah.
And so what is your memory of the Saturday night? Where were you?
I haven't got any memory because
At all.
being in Walton, you would.
Well, the excitement of Walton in those days must have been
Yeah, but
amazing.
I mean,
Absolutely.
but
you
I
had
was a heavy
I mean,
sleeper.
I was thinking of the storm itself during the Saturday because it was just a storm.
turned over and
Just a
went
windy
asleep.
night, wasn't
Right,
it?
but it was very cold
Oh yeah, it's a bit.
with it, which is why one would assume that we lost a number of people who did make it out onto the roofs of the prefabs.
You wouldn't have survived.
I'm amazed when Doris tells you. I mean,
Yeah.
I just find it very, very
The-
hard.
it
to
was
just
the
even
milkman.
envisage it.
I was up Graham Road talking to the landlady who was going to be our landlady when we moved in.
Of course, you were also courting heavily, weren't you? And
Yeah.
looking to get married.
We were getting married on May the 16th.
So, even determined, decided.
Right?
Right.
And she offered us 2 rooms, which we accepted. We were talking to her that morning, and the
Right.
milkman came.
Right.
And she said, "You're late."
As
So
they
he said,
do.
so would you do? He said, if you had the trouble we've had getting and that. So, what do you mean? Lancashire Road's all flooded. But because he didn't know anything about bodies or what deaths or anything then.
No.
And I said, okay,
This was a Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Right. Okay.
So Audrey said to me in the afternoon, I think, can we go down Langer Road? I said, I don't know.
Right.
Because she said, Jill lives down there. That was one of the girls that she
This
worked
was
with.
your girlfriend, soon to be wife.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And Jill worked with her at the co-op
Right.
and lived in Langer Road, just behind or next door to the Pioneer Garage.
Right.
She said, I'd like to know whether she's okay.
Okay.
Well, because we go down down Ordnance Hill, that's as far as we got.
Really?
So, knowing the area, I said, come on, we'll go up the railway.
Yes.
So we walked along the top, behind Lidl's,
Yes.
and right the way through, and came out on the station, on the crossing.
Oh, what? Down that beach?
Well,
Right.
there was just a pile of animals.
Yeah.
Cows,
Oh, of course, yes.
horses, pigs, goats, you name it. And then on my right, where the caravan park is, was just a heap of smashed up caravans. They'd all driven, I think there's photographs.
Yes,
showing
there
that.
is. There's
Going
one
to
on
the
there.
railway line.
And we can add that into this when
Yeah.
when it goes on to the
So
later. Yeah.
that's as far as we could get.
Right.
Well, I don't think officially we should have been there. Anyway.
So Walton Avenue was still flooded, going the other way.
Oh yes, very much so.
And it was also flooded through Station Road up towards Prettyman, where you'd walked into it.
You've got to
at
remember
sort
the
of
surge
1
was all
o'clock.
gone then. This was just the
So it was
aftermath.
a static
Yeah.
water level.
Yeah.
That
Right.
water was trapped, you see.
So this was Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Only we had a word with somebody who was 9-year-old at that time, and she went down to Station Road and looked. They walked along Sea Road and looked. you know.
Yeah, because you.
And she said it was a very eerie. In the morning, it was very eerie. You know, a bit like the old Good Friday and Easter Sunday used to be, wasn't it? It used to be. It had that feel about it.
Yeah.
But one would assume all the people were down around Orford and Langer Road trying to get.
Well,
they
you were
they-
In the
were
morning.
stopped from going down.
Yeah, eventually.
And you were talking about depths of water. We were allocated through the council
Right.
29A Cavendish Road to live.
Were
This
you?
was long after the floods.
Oh right.
And I remember one night we laid in bed and I said to the wife, I said, see that mark along there? She said, yeah, what is that? So I said, that is now coming through the plaster.
Yeah, the old
What
salts.
was the flood? So my recollection about 4 foot,
Right.
but it could have been higher. But that was the main.
Yeah.
That laid, I expect, long enough to get into the.
What is interesting about the reported peoples that were in buildings
Yeah.
was that though the windows went in and the doors went in, and the surge seemed to be modified by the building itself, because it would appear that sort of the furniture floated up on the water, and as it receded, it sort of settled back virtually where it came from. So what was happening outside, I don't think was reflected inside in some regards, because it didn't seem to happen that way.
Just would be just as the water would fill the house gradually. I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah. So very, very
I don't
strange.
think there was any wind, not then, to force the water anywhere else. But
Well, it couldn't go anywhere else,
No,
could it?
No,
You see?
it was
And then-
just massive.
It-
So here we are. You'd gone down with girlfriend. You got to whatever. You went back home. I take it. Then
oh,
what
me?
happened?
Oh, yes, I went home, and I don't know what we did. But anyway, on the Monday,
Yeah.
I don't think it might have been the Sunday night. That bit is
Right.
gone from me.
Yeah.
But I did get a call that might have come through the phone, because Father was a special as well.
Oh, was he?
Well, he was.
So it's keeping it in the family.
The reason we had a phone mainly was because he was the air raid warden. Our front room was a post
Oh
with all
right.
Doing
sandbagged
all-
up
For WW2.
in Margaret Street,
Oh right.
which
Yes.
was the bottom road to where John lived, Cornwall Road.
Mm.
And I think he got the phone call, and I think he said, "Well, I can't make it, but I expect, well, my son would, sort
Right.
of thing,
Uh-huh.
and I'll send him down."
So this was the police station.
This was the Monday.
Right.
I went down, and Freddie Kent, Inspector Kent, was the CO there, and there were some other chaps turned up. I can't remember the names now.
Uh-huh.
Harry Cook, I think, was one, and Tommy Anderson, who's now gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, poor Tommy.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, lads, you're gonna. The JP will be here shortly,
Swear you in.
and you'll be sworn in,
Oh right.
which we did. You know, usual
Yeah,
thing. In
yeah.
the snooker room
As you would.
of the. So as the police station was in them days,
Right.
and right now you want something to wear. So he said, go through down that corridor. He said into the locker rooms.
Right.
Pile of footwear and everything what you want. So there was a policeman or a clerk down there, and he said, well, there's the hats, there's the Macs,
Oh right.
and there's the wellies.
You
So
must
you-
have looked lovely. A picture
well,
of.
the raincoat certainly kept the rain out.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah,
that would
they
have-
did.
I think it was about 6 inches from the ground.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's what you needed. Yeah, they used to do. They were sort of gabardine jobs.
Yeah.
weren't they? I vaguely
And a
remember
peak
those.
cap.
Yeah.
And that was our uniform.
And welly boots.
Yeah.
So the Monday night he said, right, there's been some looting.
Oh really?
Yep. Well, because
Ah.
people, as you just said, about doors not being
Yeah,
able to be
they
shut,
just splashed in.
and then of course the water had gone down.
Right.
People had moved out by then, so they couldn't shut the doors back,
Right.
and we were just checking. We didn't, well, personally, I didn't find anybody that.
Had looted.
But the story goes that there was a knicker snatcher, which they
You're
caught
kidding.
through all this.
You're kidding.
Yeah. And he got piles when they did it eventually.
Oh, I see. What, he got flooded?
No, I think
Oh, right.
just that he saw washing on the lines
Oh,
And
the-
he had a wonderful time.
and
that-
collect with all what he'd already got at home.
That-
One thing he caught another. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Spielberg would love that in his film, wouldn't he? You know, the
So we
story
did-
of a knicker snatcher
Yeah.
Yeah.
fall because of a massive flood. You couldn't make it up, Ray.
No.
So it's obviously true. You couldn't.
I did a few nights, can't remember how long, I suppose, till the water and everything cleared up.
So by that time, the Monday, most of the fatalities had been
They were
taken, and were they taken to the morgue by the bridge?
I'll tell you that in a minute.
Right.
That's where I come into it, because I wasn't directly involved with the floods.
No,
but
it was the aftermath.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did 3 or 4 nights of patrolling, and home you go, sort of thing. And then, of course, father got a call to say, you know, there's been a lot of deaths.
Yes.
There was only, I think there was only 39 or something at the beginning.
Yes, that's what it says on the
Or
front
40.
page. Of the,
Then they found this airman
Mm.
who's been trying to get home
Right.
down the avenue or something or other.
Was this the RAF guy,
That's
the
RAF
aircraftsman?
guy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, make yourself available because we shall need you
Right.
later. We went up the cemetery and they got the report in the Evening Star a little bit wrong.
Yes.
Because they said there was coffins. Well, the coffins weren't up at the cemetery, it was just the bodies.
Really?
But to walk in a marquee and see rows of bodies with labels on,
Yeah. Was
complete families, as I said earlier,
yeah.
was
Yeah,
heartrending. Heartrending.
Yeah.
In fact, the old boy, Harry Durrant was his name, was the grave digger,
Oh right.
and he was in tears
Well, I would have been. I mean,
because the mortuary was a one body thing.
Yeah.
oh, was it? I thought it was
Yeah,
bigger than that.
oh, no.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
but
really?
because they pitched us up on a spare piece of ground,
Right.
the marquee, and then we collected whoever. As I say, I can't remember what order. I'd like to know how many. I
Yes.
was guessing the number of times I did attend
Funeral.
funerals.
So what did we have then? We had a number who were buried in the town cemetery.
Town cemetery.
Walton Church.
Date?
No.
Yeah,
St John's.
No, because St John's haven't got a
No, we
burial.
haven't got a graveyard.
Oh right.
The only official burial.
St Peter's and Paul's. I mean. that one.
They've got
Yeah,
one, but
yeah.
I don't think you'd get anybody. You could have the old
and
one.
equally, you had the cemetery or the crematorium in Ipswich.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I
Yes,
mean, I
'cause we
don't think
should
they
find
designated an area up at the cemetery. They're not like the soldiers.
Yes,
they're
I
just
don't-
scattered.
yeah.
They're scattered around.
Are they?
But
Right.
as I say, Co-op and other places were involved with the funerals. But
I mean, 41 folk. It's a long.
It is.
It's
a lot of bodies.
Isn't it a lot of bodies?
when you take a
You
double,
do-
I mean, I did it for 10 years, and I think that was about the only time I had what I called a double funeral. That's with the
Parents.
mother, father, and 2 children,
Yeah.
and they were small enough, and I suppose money as it was in the day.
Right.
They were laid side by side,
In the
a child with the father and a child with the mother.
Yeah.
Heartrender.
It is. Yes, it is. It is. And I suppose we should look at that and perhaps record where and how, I suppose. Some of that may be there, but that's something we can find. You know, the records are there. It's just a question of having sufficient
people said to me,
manpower
"Well,
to
who did you bury?" I said, "I'm sorry."
No, it would have
Yeah,
been
that
too
would
much.
have-
When you was in that sort of job,
But you see, I'm as I was saying to you earlier, I've been looking at the Felixstowe Times of the period, and it's weekly, and it gives you a snapshot of what's happened. So it gives you the funerals, and it tells you where. So we could access that.
I used to report them
and
all.
I have asked the Ipswich Record Office if we can have access to the actual papers themselves rather than
I mean, the report in the
microfiche.
paper sort of said as if that was Knights and Parker, as if that was one funeral director, but it wasn't. It was
Two separate.
Herbert Knights
Right.
and
Parker.
and Parker.
Yeah. So we got to the point that it was known we'd had burials.
41, yeah.
You were then running into the coronation and also the resort being the resort. One would assume, terrible thing to say, but life goes on. So one would assume there were a range of. It must have been a very strange coronation here in Felixstowe because it was the same year.
Ah, you're going up the road a bit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You know,
Yeah.
because
wasn't it?
what I find odd, I read in the report of the 7th of February, which is the Felixstowe Times, the first one to report after the event, and there's a little section in there which gives you the town council meeting, and they're talking about arrangements for the coronation.
Yeah, well, 'cause
so that it's all going in parallel,
wasn't
and the
that-
resort needed to open.
The,
you know, it's sort of a very the town must have been in a very
we were
strange
married
place.
May the 16th,
Right.
And I got an idea that was something, was the coroner?
It was in
June, wasn't
June.
it? June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they had parties in Graham Road,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
street parties.
It must have been a very strange time. Now, you both lived here all your lives. Would that be
of us,
right?
and actually worked together.
Really?
Well, not together.
But down at the pool.
He worked
right.
for the dock company, and I worked for Marriages Mill.
Oh, did you?
So we
Yeah.
exchanged delivery notes and things, and had
Oh,
lunch
right.
together. and,
Yeah, magic.
You know.
Can you tell me, and I must defer to Cherry McGregor, who said, "What are you, an outsider, doing this?" Was why was it that, what was it, about 20 odd prefabs, single-storey buildings, located at Orford Road and Langer Road, which are actually the lowest points, aren't they, on this creek that it was? Why were they located there? I mean, there were prefabs, I think, in Chester Road,
Yes.
in Grange Road, in
Cornwall
Langley
Road.
Avenue. There were.
Everywhere
Yeah,
up there.
So
Yes.
why did
I
they?
would have.
Why
My
did they
own
go
thoughts
there?
is that they were spare,
Wow.
and
Really?
and they wanted somewhere to put them.
It might have been. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it just
Yes,
seems. Because yes, so there was a flood in 1883, and it was quite a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Going by Orford.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Orford record, they reckon that flood of 1883 was just 6 inches below the flood of 1953.
I mean, there was a brick foundation for the.
Prefab to sit on, yeah,
yeah.
but they only sat on them, didn't
That
they?
was only
They didn't last
regulation
long.
about
Yeah.
a foot.
They
about a
didn't last long.
No,
Looking
no.
at that.
I don't think they were even secured down,
No,
other
not
than the
really.
pipes of
Really, just the
Service
services.
up. Yeah.
water hit it. And
Yeah. I mean, the bit I've read about the building of those was that there was a delay on the Langer Road site because of trying to get the footings dry enough to pour the
Oh,
cement.
Mm.
Because it appears to have been wet when they were
Well,
whatever.
yeah.
But I'm
all
still
marshes, yeah.
yeah. So because I understood it was a Bedford company who got the contract, and they used German prisoners of war
Yeah, quite
who
possibly.
did quite a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Thank you for having done that. But I'm still sort of, when you consider the size of Walton and Felixstowe, there must have been other places.
well, yeah.
Oh, you could have done, but you would have to go on the expensive side of town.
Oh, I see. You think
Well-
it might have been financial?
Well,
See,
I don't know. I wasn't on the council. but-
Coronation Street in action then? No.
No.
Well, that was
No.
built for the coronation. Was the
Well,
coronation? Wasn't it?
Waveney and all those.
Those
Yeah.
didn't
But
exist.
There was all that land which had been earmarked because
Yeah.
That's,
as a young court,
that was
the
just a farm.
the curbs were already in
Were
for
they?
years.
Yeah,
What, before the houses started being built?
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
I talked to one of the folk who was rehoused from the ferry, and totally inappropriately, they put him in yet a road, Store Avenue. You'd have thought they could have found somewhere that wasn't a river, wouldn't you, to have actually reaccommodated
Yeah, but
them.
that'd be
But
something.
that's where he was you know,
Yeah.
that's where the family was
Because you
rehoused.
see, the
So that
building-
must have been in the process of being built. I don't know how long it took them
Yeah.
to get in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because the prefabs would have stayed at the other sites, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Grange and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my
But then
godmother...
then
went
they
into-
built houses, removed them and built houses eventually.
So after the flood, you had what, 3 or 4 prefabs that were, one was blocking Langer Road, one was what did they do? Dismantle them all, take them all away?
I assume that's what happened to
Do you
her
remember?
eventually,
Right,
not
okay.
really.
I
Because
can't.
now
I had
it's
to
a
ride
factory,
down
isn't
that
it?
road every day to go to work.
Yeah, I know, but it's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't
You
it?
see?
You know.
Yeah.
So at
No,
some
they
point
must have been
they
taken
must have
away.
been
I would
dismantled.
think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that was whoa.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I mean, even we were allocated that flat, which is a ground floor flat,
Yes.
and
very-
mother-in-law did her nut.
Yeah, I'm sure she did.
And rightly so.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yeah,
right.
She said, "You're not going to move in there," and that's the only way. If we didn't take that,
You'd have nothing.
we would be off the list because they were only then building Coronation Drive, and waving in all those.
Yeah.
Actually, they do that now, don't they? They offer you a property that you can't take, and if you don't take it, you're
Reverend
deemed
Ross
to have
Sage was
refused.
there.
You go to the back of the
Yeah.
list
I
again.
think he was the housing officer, Reverend Ross Sage,
Yes.
or he was on
Oh,
the
was
housing.
he?
He was a councillor.
He was a vicar
Of
of Walton,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
And he was a special.
Yeah.
Was he really?
Yeah.
What a busy man. And he also grew grapes, because you used to get buckets of blood from the
I've never
butcher.
been invited to tea. So.
And do you know? No, I haven't. This is through Stanley Dyke. You
Yeah.
know, 'cause,
Oh, yeah.
when I was his his neighbour for a long
Going,
time.
going off the subject,
Mm.
Ross Sage, we had a carnival which started from Seaton Road
Right.
and then went along by the Con Club and then through the usual run.
Yes, yes.
And he was on horseback.
Yeah.
Was he
would
really?
lead it, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So, do you remember what it was like in the first anniversary following the flood? This would have been in 1954.
I think they come and went.
Yeah.
Did they?
just went. I don't think anybody.
The immediate family probably remember.
Oh
but
yeah, we would.
Right.
The people
it
who were
wasn't
involved.
until you got, as John said, until 25 years probably, I don't know.
Right. Only I,
Uh,
when I was trying to find these records before, the ones that had been removed, I did, and I've really got to revisit it. I got it could have been the East Anglian, or it could have been the Felixstowe Times, which was a lovely paper because it was all there. Wasn't
was
it?
a-
You know,
well,
the
it was a
Felixstowe
local
Times.
paper.
It was
the old Felixstowe
yeah,
Times.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean
yeah.
that's what we always used to buy when we first
Yeah.
came in. But I read a bit, and it was an Ipswich family, and he was either a headmaster or head of department at a school, and he was pressing for a public inquiry. Now, he'd had a relative who was drowned in the flood, and he pushed for that and pushed for that, and he was never successful.
No.
So you've got no knowledge of people wanting to have a fuller explanation of what
No, I
happened?
don't.
I mean, was it just
Ian would be
shocking?
the only person that, because if it wasn't for Ian, I don't know whether there'd have been anything.
No, and there was no effort made by the council, was there?
Well, you know, could that have been a bit of reputational damage fear? You know, if, anyway, we'll find out.
Well, you might. Yeah.
You know, if we live long enough.
yeah,
we'll do the
we're
best we
pushing
can.
up the road.
And whatever we find, hopefully we'll be able to make
So
available in September.
You come up against the same block. If you go back to Evacuation,
Yes.
my old mate Robin Rivers, who's
Yeah.
still alive,
Yes.
we were evacuated to Birmingham.
Oh, really?
Places. But anyway,
Mm.
they keep on about reunions. Well, this was going back 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But if you
Yeah.
think we went there as 10-year-olds,
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
and
yeah.
the people that took us in
Yeah.
were in their 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
and what have you.
Yeah.
They're not here now.
So,
Well, I
So-
lived in Devon, and my gran was the final taker in of evacuees after the vicar had gone everywhere, and she had lots. We had some from Bristol, some from London. You know, sort of living on the edge of Dartmoor, you'd have thought it was safe until the Luftwaffe discovered Plymouth,
Yeah,
and then it
they
ceased to be
knocked the
safe
shit out of it.
because the ones who failed to bomb the dockyard or the city would go over Dartmoor to line themselves up to run back,
Yeah,
and they'd
then
offload the bombs on our villages as they went.
Yeah.
So you know, but that happened to a lot of evacuees, didn't it? They were thought to be safe, and they
Yeah,
went somewhere
yeah.
which was equally.
Felixstowe was not to do with bombing, it was to do with the invasion.
That's what
Yes,
they
I
were
know.
worried about.
Yeah.
And of course, where did we go? As I said, Withall, Birmingham.
Oh, did you?
I was up there when Coventry Cathedral was
Oh,
damaged,
yeah.
the Birmingham Bullring, all the major
Yeah.
Centres.
factories and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there was hardly a night that we went to bed properly.
Yeah.
The farmer built a big underground shelter
Yeah.
Oh, right.
for because that was a country lane. I can still remember that.
Right.
I've never, why, I don't know. I'm too late in life now to bother about it.
No.
Well, I've never gone and revisited.
Ah.
Wasn't happy, I suppose. So,
No, no.
well, don't get me wrong. The people I was with
Yeah.
Were
couldn't-
all right.
were all right.
Yeah.
But it was just a 10-year-old being.
Yes.
You
absolutely.
turned up at school with your little.
Yeah, we
Leather
went
case
out
and-
in June, didn't we?
Yeah.
Did you go, John?
Yes, I took my brother. He was 6, poor little son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you end up?
Well, just outside Birmingham, Flint. But I went to quite a wealthy family, so I was
right.
very lucky.
So you were spoilt rotten?
Yeah, well, no, I wasn't spoiled.
Oh, well, a bit.
No, but I had a better standard of living than I had at home.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
There you are.
so getting back to the 53
Yeah.
flood. What is your abiding memory, Ray, of that?
Oh, I think I've got to say it's got to be the marquee.
Yeah.
With the
Right.
boat. That's the vivid.
Yes.
I mean, the paper said no coffins, but there wasn't any coffins.
Ah, well,
They hadn't
that would sound better,
You didn't
wouldn't
get
it,
the
you know?
coffins until they went to the undertakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Well,
believe.
you know,
Yeah.
whoever the people
We're going to be. Yeah.
organised. But
Yeah.
I would really like to know, not it's going to do me any good, but how many I actually did officiate with. My father.
Well,
I
hopefully
even wrote
come-
my brother, not my younger brother, my brother Ken,
Right.
in as a bearer as well.
Right.
Because when you get two doubles,
yes.
you want 8 at least.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed you do.
Yeah.
And carrying the little ones must have been awful.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
you know, I mean,
they
Wow.
nearly all went with the parents, but there was an instant, and
Well, there was
the
Margaret.
undertaker had a job to get a volunteer
yeah,
to carry that white.
yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah.
I backed out of that.
I bet.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I'm
that-
not surprised, right? And what's your memory?
Well,
Other than a
did
beach
you-
all the way along Sea Road.
Well, well, you know, many memories because I mean I helped to get people out of houses and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, they tell you the story of the fur coat, you know, and poor Bob Warren.
The naked lady.
No, this wasn't naked.
Oh,
No,
right,
no,
okay.
no, no.
But-
He stood on the bottom ladder.
Oh, right.
Bottom of the ladder. I went up the ladder, the house in Norfolk Road. You could get in the back ways there. And I got up there and this lady came to the window and I said, you've got to get out of your house because the
Right.
authorities say you're home. And you've got to go over to the Cavendish Hotel. Oh, she says, right, I must go and get this thing for you. Well, I thought she meant a babe or something.
Right.
She came back with a fur coat. There I am hanging on this bloody ladder. And she says, and don't you dare drop it, because there's water down below.
So she had her priorities. So
Oh,
the
yes,
rest
yeah.
of the-
So I got the
40,
fur coat.
41 people died.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the-
yeah,
in
oh,
the
yeah,
fur coat.
yeah.
Well, James,
well, that's a nice light bright side of it.
I'm
If
getting
you
the-
say like a young
yeah.
child, I remember standing in that road lifting one out of the boat.
You're getting a signal there.
Yeah, you know.
well, I think we'll return to this come September, and we'll probably do a bit more at St
But
Edmunds Hall. So
you know.
thank you very much for both coming in
Are
and
we
sharing this
Are
with
we
us.
off air now?
No, we are still
Oh.
going live.
Yeah.
So until he gives us a nod,
Yeah.
we are live.
All right, you can
But
cut out your likes out of it.
what we will do is add some of the
Sort of
photographs
Yeah.
to it when it goes on to
Yeah,
the website.
that's
So
fine. Yeah.
thank you very much for
That's all right.
watching, viewer, and hopefully you will see this as a continuation of the 53 flood. Look forward to updating you on the situation with Staff Sergeant Short, for who we have some further information following the short programme we did last week. So thank you very much. See you again at Gainsborough Studio soon.